Welcome to the only wrestling podcast that covers the WWE developmental system from its inception to modern day. From OVW to MCW to HWA, Deep South, FCW, and much more. Hosted by Brian Asbury and Mortimer Blankenship. Now let's dive into what could have been, what should have been. Welcome to Developmentally Speaking.
On today's episode, we have OVW alumni Smooth Johnny Spade.
Hey Johnny, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
I tell you what, we've been trying to figure out different ways to record, and I think that on this episode we have finally figured out exactly how we can put both of us in the same picture, and there's a nice overlay. You can't see it here right now, but in the final you'll see there's a decent overlay.
Fantastic. Yeah. For those of the people who don't know, I was on last season's episode with Randy Orton. I couldn't see the guys when they interviewed me, so it's definitely an improvement this time around.
Yeah, for sure. I know.
Before we get started, we did the Squared Circle Expo 2 weeks ago, and John Morrison came up and he was cutting a promo for Rip's YouTube channel, and he's like, "I'm Johnny Nitro, Johnny Morrison, Johnny Spade." And he just kept going on and mentioned you in it. I thought it was pretty cool. I caught it, and it was just every Johnny he could think of, he called it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he? Did you tell him? He's a good guy, man. Was he talking about me, or is the character they gave him for 1 week?
Ooh. I don't know. It may have been because Rip was at our table, so everybody that went through OVW came up and was showing Rip love, and then Rip's putting his show over, so he's having everybody in the damn conventions cutting promos for Rip.
They were.
Yeah. Me and John were always we worked together a lot, man. He was a good dude. He's a good friend, but he actually, when I got let go and left the next week on Raw, he took the name Johnny Spade, and I was supposed to come in and do a thing with Cornette without him and Melina knowing. And I was like, well, what if they don't leave the ring? Because they were going to give me a bat. I was like, well, Cornette, I'm going to have to hit him with the bat. And it was a funny thing, but the next week they changed his name, got rid of the Johnny Spade moniker. There was a lot of uproar about it, whatever. But, I remember hearing it on Raw going, what the hell? Literally the week after I was gone.
Oh, man.
He felt bad about it, man. He was a good dude.
So how did you get your start in OVW?
Played college baseball. I played baseball my whole life, just quarterback in football. I was an athlete. Got a scholarship. I was a good kid in college, but my coach was like getting married, and he was a Christian and a virgin, and I got caught with a girl in my dorm. I had to turn in my uniform, came back to Louisville, and didn't have much to do, and I was like, I'm going to wrestle for fun. I really didn't think it was going to be a career, a job. I sure as shit didn't know I was going to do it for, 16 years. This was 22 years ago when I first started. Wow. And I called Danny. I looked it up in the phone book, and that shit still existed. And then, I found him in there, called him, and I was like, I know him. I used to watch him on Memphis television, and he was kind of excited because I guess he thought he was getting this athlete who was a baseball player, college athlete. He was like, I want to see this kid come in. So he said, please come in. So I came to a show. I couldn't see him, and then I asked some of the fans where he was, and I met him in intermission. He looked at me like, you're not as big as I thought you'd be, but I was only 19.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then I remember he said, come to practice with $300. It's a starter thing. It's once a week on Saturdays. Remember I showed up, and it was Damage's first week. We were both started together. And I only had $200. And he said, that's fine. Pay me when you can. And they had me go off to the side with this guy lowrider and do a couple, reversals and it came pretty easy when he would start doing it. I was kind of getting it real fast, and that dude was like, "Man, there's something about you, man." So then I went in the ring and I started doing some stuff, and he was like, "Sure, you want to get on these drills? You haven't really done much." And I had to learn to hit the ropes. And after about a week, he goes, "You nobody's ever trained you before?" And I said, "No, I just did shit for fun as a kid. I've always been a fan." He goes, "It comes really natural." He goes, "Because you're with me. I've got you signing that stuff. I don't want to get in trouble." It's like, "I promise, Danny, nobody's ever." And then next thing you know, he's got me like 3 months later, man. I'm wrestling. Me and Danny Basham, Damage, really Danny Holly. We he just pushed us fast and hard. As soon as he saw something in us, he was a Seymour boy and I was a Louisville boy, and I sold out my first show. So many people came to see me. It was like, he told Jason Lee, he was like, "You guys better watch out. Looks like some spots are going to be getting filled." He really liked me. He took a liking to me real quick. He said I was different and I had something. And my in-ring, the way I blocked was different, and my in-ring style was different. And the way I was cocky, arrogant. I was a prick. I was a douche, but I was cool. It was I had a lot of things that I didn't love about me. It just came natural. And I didn't know what I had. I was so young. I didn't know how good or what I had at the time. Right. Then he saw money is what he saw.
Yeah. And I mean, when you've got it, you got it. And when you got it, that does equal dollar signs. So, I mean, so.
Were you there before the developmental was in place?
Yeah, for sure. I was there for the transition. They called us in the office, and I think the gist of the conversation was, shit's going to be changing. Mm-hmm. I advise you all to get in shape if you want jobs here, because there's not going to be a lot of spots to fill. And, I guess it's kind of the way I took it. There's only strong survive. And I just thought for sure, well, I did it for fun. I had my run. But that wasn't the case. WWE came in, and I think Rico was the first guy. And then it just bam, bam, every week, a new guy. And guys were slipping and slipping and slipping. I went from a 2 or 3-time OVW lightweight champion to a jobber. And then that changed in one night.
Go ahead.
No, I'll get to that story, but yeah, you have anything to follow up on that? But yeah, I was there before, for sure.
I was going to say that, during that transition, you were the one, because other people got phased out, like you said, but I always remember you being there throughout it all.
I was, and I was the jobber at first. They changed my gimmick, and I hated it, to Pretty Fly Johnny Spade. Mm-hmm. And it came out to Pretty Fly for a white guy. And I even asked Jim Cornette, I said, "What the hell do you want me to do? Am I supposed to be like, a wannabe? What just call me? You want me to over embellish?" Which at the time would have been what Cito did and made him famous. I said, "I don't get it." And he goes, "No, just keep being you." I was like, "Okay, is that a fucking insult? Like, I don't get it." So I was like, "Are you saying that's already me?" So I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'll just keep doing it." And I was jobbing out, and I remember Danny, they had the practice, or you were moving from the beginners to the advanced, and it was going to be trained, and it was all developmental. And he said, "Spade, I need to get you in this class before they start charging all this money, because it's all WWE guys." So when I went into class, I was training with WWE guys. I didn't pay Danny a dime. Wow. So everybody, I remember Rip Rogers told you guys, you either paid or got paid. That wasn't true. It's not true. I didn't pay Danny shit. I got paid a little bit here and there, and with budget money from WWE and things like that, and Jim Cornette out of pocket, Danny Davis. But Danny and me had a mutual agreement that I was making him money on TV. Other guys in class weren't. I didn't pay for class, and he knew I was striving. So my job was to work TV for free, bust my ass, because I didn't have to pay for school like everybody else. So I was making Danny money, and in return, I didn't have to pay money, and that was not that was very rare.
Yeah.
I was a few breed. There wasn't many people that did that. Maybe no one else. I don't know. I can't speak for everyone else.
Yeah, that speaks volumes for Danny.
Yeah,
Doing that.
to do that.
He had so much faith in you to be able to do that, and
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
The transition to WWE when I started getting a push was my first angle was against Jim Cornette. So somebody I watched growing up and I idolized, and so I was jobbing. I was getting pissed. I was like, man, fuck this. I'm just as good as these guys. God, you can see me stretching. So wrestling. All these guys that were coming in and being on TV for Vince McMahon, I'm like, I'm keeping up with them in practice every day. I'm cutting better promos than them. So I started trying to politic my way to Jimmy, like, do something with me. And that just wasn't happening. And I worked Flash and we killed it. I worked a couple guys, killed it. And I remember saying to Flash, I'd already said, way to carry Spade. It's like, he didn't carry me. We came up with that together. We coexisted, but he's not going to say that. He wants to keep his job. But he was good. Flash is great. Don't get me wrong. But there wasn't a lot of guys that could keep up with him. I could. And I was young and very new to the business. So finally they had this talk show that was being taped on Preston Highway and Hooters. And they would have wrestlers on the talk show. One wrestler that was the main event spot didn't get to show up that night. So they called me the last minute. I think it was Kenny Boland, said, can you do the show? Well, the host didn't know who I was. So I show up and he's not taking me serious. They put me on last. And I looked it was Jebediah Blackhawk. And he was on before me. And Jeb knew I was nuts. And I said, I'm going to tear this motherfucker up. And he goes, what? I said, just watch when I'm on. And he goes, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. It's either going to work in my favor or I'm going to have a job. Watch this. So I fucking buried everybody from Nick Dinsmore to Duke Bennett. Told them what were they scared of to put me in the ring with guys like that, because they knew when they did, I got a better reaction than they did, which is true. I did. And they didn't want me to overshadow those guys. So they were scared to put me in the ring with them because the guys they were paying money to were going to outdo the guys that weren't getting paid. And I told them that they were afraid to actually give me my shot against those guys. So I was like, I did it. And I shot hard. I was going nuts in the camera. I was cocky. The guy after was like, holy shit, I didn't know you had that in you. Now he knew who I was. And he was like, that was amazing. The ratings were great. So I go back to TV on that Wednesday night after doing that weekend show. And Stacy, I see Jim Cornette's wife. She's like, that was fucking amazing. I'm thinking I might get fired. So I walk in thinking I'm going to be let go. No, that wasn't the case at all. Man, Jim Cornette said, that was fucking awesome. Saw something in me immediately. We're doing an angle with you. You're going to get fired. You're going to show up in the stands wearing Fire Cornette t-shirts. Your first angle's against me. And I killed that fucking angle. And from that point on, I shot like a fucking rocket. And it was all Jimmy. Jimmy saw it. I did it when I took the opportunity. And I ran with it. And I did my first promo in ring against him, telling him to look me in my damn eyes. We went toe to toe, went off script. And you could probably find it easy. And when we did that promo, I beat Shelton Benjamin with the help of Sly Scraper to get myself a spot on the roster. And after the thing, Jim Cornette comes to the back and goes, that's how you fucking make shit real. That's how you cut a fucking promo. And he goes, if Spade was in the fucking 80s, he'd be making millions. That's how you do it. And I got claps from the boys. And from that point on, I was getting pushed. And it was from then on, if I wasn't getting a push, it was due to politics in the back. Somebody pissed that I was getting more popular than them.
I just watched a promo today where Cornette was on he was doing commentary and you came up behind him, starting shit with Sly Scraper, and he started screaming and going off.
When I came up with Sly, was it against the Minnesota Stretching Crew? Maybe.
It was just the promo part, but you and Sly came up behind him, and you just got right in his face.
Oh, I got to go back and look at that. Yeah, it was. It was. You know, the respect from the boys to have the boss be the first one you do your angle with. It really put me in my own a little bit, which really helped. It showed that he could trust me to work with me. When you're looking at a legend, and you're able to do that with him and not get nervous, and because the nerves were there, man. I mean, yeah, I mean, you're in the ring with Jim Cornette, and to be able to shake the nerves and know that you were going to do this for fun, now you might be making money for real, and you had to just go balls to the wall, or you don't go at all. And I think that's the reason I got a lot of respect from the boys. They knew that if they wrestled Johnny Spade, or even in the back, if they could whoop me, which was fine, they knew I was never scared of anything, and I feared nobody. Deep down, I might have, but they wouldn't have known that.
So, if you could pick like a top 3 of your favorite matches, or even just people that you would work matches with, who would you say your top 3 were?
Well, there's angles, and then there's matches that meant something, or they had something in the back scene that you all didn't know about. Like when I wrestled David Flair, and his job was on the line. That's a joke with the boys, by the way. Tell you about that sometime. But that was over huge with the boys in the back. But matches, like if you're talking about like just matches in general in my career, like when they ask me that question, which is it's always asked, they expect me to say a lot of WWE guys. And it's not necessarily the case. Now, if you're asking me some of the most well-known guys I've worked with, things like that, it's different. I've worked guys like Jason Lee or Jamin Olivencia. I worked him for a year and a half straight, where we made a lot of money for Danny and for the title consistently. Iron Man matches, cage matches. I mean, and we just kept it going so much, and it got so real and into detail about our families and drug testing that they just kept that alive for a while. And, I'm trying to think of some of the WWE guys, too. I mean, I had good matches with Randy. We worked a lot together. Johnny Jeter, I worked all the time. Still a good friend of mine. I've worked Johnny
him on for this season.
I'll get a holler, maybe. I've worked him a lot. They kept us together back then in practice, and everything. We were kind of rivals because we were good friends outside, and we would work out. But when you would come to the practice, and you've had these land of giants, and then Johnny Jeter and myself, and that was before your Mike Mondos and your, other guys that were smaller, your Matt Capitellis, your John Hennigans, or Johnny Nitros, which weren't necessarily small guys. Neither was Jeter, but in this day and age, we were giants in the land of Ring of Honor. But back then, we were small compared to what they had lined up. It was insane. I mean, like I told you, I think on the last episode, I'm 6 foot with my boots on, probably 6'1", at the time, 2'2", 210, something like that. And I'm considered a cruiserweight. It's that to me nowadays. There's guys my size winning heavyweight titles in WWE. It's a way different world.
Right. Yeah. Back then, Vince really, really liked the big, muscular, big, giant guys, and
he did. He did. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I was being told to get a job from the office to get smaller to compete with the cruiserweights in their first hour at WCW, and then when they bought WCW out, after being told to get smaller, I was told to get bigger because they bought all the rights to these cruiserweights. And they didn't, guys were coming in from WCW that had names. So now at mine, I was kind of being tossed aside, and I needed to. So it was one day it was this, and the next day it was that. it was, you know, it's a bullshit world that if they have something and it makes sense, they could call you up like that. If they decided they needed a janitor and for some reason they looked over and you were sweeping, you had a job just if you could work. I mean, it was just right place, right time, right gimmick. That's really what it was.
Mm-hmm. I've always referred to that like era as like it's like the lost generation. Like if they would have really invested like they are trying to now, like all those guys, everybody would still be there. But they were just like
Oh yeah.
they gave you a week, and if it doesn't work on that Tuesday, then we're moving on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Oh no. I mean, I was getting praise left and right. I mean, one of the greatest things, and I still wish I had detail on why he said this. I was working Capitelli one night, and Terry Taylor loved me, and I was in the back, and he said, "Spade, who are you working tonight?" And I was sitting there talking to Matt. I said, "I'm actually working Matt tonight." He looked at Matt and he goes, "You're working the best in the business," and he walked off. I was in shock. So I remember Matt looking at me and
I just
going,
got goosebumps
"Wow,
from that.
wow, that had to feel good." He said, "That had to feel real good." I said, "Are you fucking what the fuck?" He said, "Well, tell him if he feels like that, I need to be getting paid. What the shit?" Which I was getting money. You know, they had a budget. What Jim Cornette had you know, he had from what I heard, okay, I don't know details on their contracts. He had money for a budget that was divvied up between guys like Trash, Jack, myself, uh, the Suicide Blondes.
mm-hmm.
Um, they were a package. I mean, it was the guys that he needed to keep in there. They got a deal, and that were inclined to get a deal, but knew we couldn't be to practice every day or hardly because we had to work and make a living. It was but it was enough to keep us afloat. A lot of we're working on this, we're working on that. It's looking good. Do this, do that. Uh, a little bit of money here and there. Was so there was a lot of us that because I was pretty much at one point when we moved to the new arena, and I was in the Revolution, which was a huge faction. I mean, we were the only non WWE WCW group, I think, in 2000 or 2001, or wrestler or anything that was outside of the main companies that got any top three of the years. We were group of the year. We were like two or three, and we were in an independent in OBW. That's how huge we were. We were a major group, major force, and I was an enhancement talent. I was working guys that were rehabbing, guys that were new. I was working your Eric Angles. Of course, I've worked the guys like John Cena. I told you about those. Your Randy Orton, but the guys that would come in, testing out Novas, Rey Mysterios, guys rehabbing. JDL would always request me because I was used to work. I mean, it was, and he gave me a concussion, put me out for a while, by the way. But I mean, I was working the best that they had to offer. So it's not like I was coming in and working guys that were in training class. I was working WWE. I worked with my father when he was in here. So in my mind, I'm thinking, every day that I come into work, I'm working guys in WWE, guys that are going to WWE, and or guys that are rehabbing for WWE. So they see something in me. If I'm not working, your Joe Blows, I'm working guys that are mainstream. So in my head, that kept me going because I knew not everybody was saying, "Hey, I want to be Beaver." If I could complain about where I was, there was guys complaining about they weren't where I was.
Right. So,
So if I'm bored, you let me know.
Oh
Sorry.
God, no,
no,
you're good.
no,
I can remember.
no,
No,
no. I was just so enthralled in the story that
it.
I can't see. So you could be laughing. With this disease I got, man, I'm visually impaired now. But
You were like you were almost like Danny's right hand man to where he trusts this is who they want to start with. It was with
Well,
you.
Danny
Yeah.
trusted me, but it was more Jimmy trusted me writing.
Yeah.
Uh, he knew if David Flair's job was on the line.
Mm-hmm.
I came in and his dad was coming in and Ross was there, Jim Ross, and I come in and everybody's excited because Ross is there, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm working David Flair. Well, fuck. I'm like, but I'm on first. But they call me in the office and they go, hey, this is what's up, dude. This dude's gonna lose his job. We think you could save his job. Everybody gets in the ring with him. Because his name's David Flair, they want to do Hurricane Ranas and fucking Joe blows and jumps off the top.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, that ain't what you do with the last name Flair. And I said, I'll take care of it. So then they call David in there. They say, y'all are going to go 2 segments, I think 8 to 10 minutes, can't remember. And he said, they told David, they said, David, do every fucking thing Spade tells you. And man, we put on a fucking hell of a match. All I did was use his name against him, chopped him, got cocky, arrogant, had him give it to me back a few times, the big bump, the big boom. I even traded a couple chops and then gave up and thumbed him right in the eye, but he got a reaction because it was just with Cena put that over. He goes, the old thumb to the eye, but it was in such a good spot in the match. And there was so much flair, no pun intended, dramaticism to the match. It made sense. And when we got to the back, the boys were clapping. David thanked me 100 times. Jimmy comes back, puts us over. Spade fucking did this, that son of a bitch. Again, it made me look good. It made the boys that wanted to kick my ass for being cocky and arrogant go, well, every time we think he's shit and we want to know why he's on TV because he's so small. And then Jim Cornette and Rip Rogers go, well, wait till you fucking see him on TV.
Yeah, where'd you see him work? Yeah.
Yeah, when you see him, and
Yeah.
that happened to Rip Rogers one day. Rip never told me this; someone else told me. Somebody looked at Rip and go, "Why is this little motherfucker on TV?" And Rip goes, "Oh, wait till after he's done." And then when it was over, he goes, "And that's fucking why," because I very rarely, made mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
It was at the time. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm being honest. Everybody makes mistakes, but people try to do things that they shouldn't because they think it might look cool or whatever. You always play to your strengths, and even if it's just a couple strengths,
Mm-hmm.
and you always eliminate your negatives. If you think, wonder if it's going to look good or not, don't fucking do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to try it later, if you want to try it on a house show, that's fine. Give it a whirl, but don't fucking do it. No one knows if you make a mistake if you don't do it at all.
Right.
Save it. You can over dramatize everything you do in the ring. Over Flair, I could do one punch and be so cocky if he sells it good for the next 30 seconds to a minute and a half before my next move, that in 2 minutes where somebody's done 3, 4 big high spots, I've thrown one punch and maybe one chop because I was able to do so much in between to get them invested in the next thing. And people don't get that. They just don't understand.
I get that. I understand that 100%.
Sure.
That's my, to this day, that's my bread and butter when it comes to being a manager, and whenever I do
100.
when I do even a comedy match,
Manager 101, man.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
play to your
the pro.
strengths for sure. Play to your strengths and just I couldn't have said it better than what you just said for sure. Well, I'm thinking we're getting pretty close to time here. So if there's anybody in this business that you want to give advice to or praise or thank, this is your chance. And plus, if there's anything you got going on now that you'd like to plug, you can feel free to do that as well.
No, as you know, I'm retired. I've been stricken with a disease from prescription medicine that caused me to go in a coma, died, so I'll never be able to. Died for 6 minutes. I'm glad to be alive, and I lost my eyesight due to it. But so I might be looking to be a promoter eventually. But for the most part, I'm just happy to be here talking with you all. I've got a lot of friends in the business. There's too many to name, you know. There's so many stories out there. We really just diving into how I got started and what was going on is all we really did. But shit, there's stories from developmental to the revolution, how it got started, to what we did and who we were working and the politics behind all that. There's so much. But I mean, I owe a lot to a lot of people.
We could definitely do a revisited episode with
Oh
you.
yeah,
for sure.
we'll bring you back for sure.
For sure.
Like
Oh
Rico's.
yeah, if you ever get a chance to get me and Doug or Victoria or somebody all together, let me know because be great. The Revolution was a hell of a group.
Maybe we should do a revolution episode with everybody.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So much to so many people.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say, you know, Jason Lee and Danny Basham, Randy Orton, you know, Vito's, I mean, I had some really good friends. Johnny Jeters, you know, Brian Cage, Chris Cage, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of guys that Sean O'Hare was a very good friend of mine. Rest in peace. As crazy as he was, me and him were really close. But yeah, it's just there's so many, and I wouldn't want to not. I mean, Benjamin Woods, by the way. You know, there's so many people. I wouldn't want to knock any of them or say anything wrong or discredit anybody. You know, as far as the ladies go, I was good friends with Jackie, Victoria. I had something special with Dory, me and her, which y'all know her by Ruby. Me and her were very close. Nydia, me and her were very, very close. But you know, but at the end of the day, Kenny Bolin, Danny Davis was good. He was like a father figure to me. Jim Cornette is great to me. He dropped money on my GoFundMe when I was dying. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know they had a GoFundMe. So he's still good to me to the day. Him and Stacy. And yeah, I wish you guys well, and I'm sure I'll talk to you again. And I wish there was more people. You know, Joe. Gotta mention, good friend of mine. A lot of people don't like him. I always love you. So if you're watching this, I didn't forget about you. Trailer Park Trash. My buddy. Hey, TTT, you know, I love you too. I didn't forget about you. So, you know, I'm going to be doing a podcast, opening one up in the next year with a friend. And I'd like to have you guys on eventually sometime.
For sure.
Not Trash, I know Trash is going to be on there. I didn't forget about you, old friend. He's still a good friend of mine as well.
So we will, you know, we'll bring you back on again. We'll do another episode. Rico reached out, Doug Basham reached out. They want to come on, and so we're going to do revisited episodes. But I just want to personally thank you for everything you've done. You know, your time there was a big part of me growing up, and I just want to say thank you for all the memories and for keeping me entertained all these years.
Man, it's hard to believe I'm that old. You know, it's guys like you all that let us, believe it or not, be able to sometimes come in and vent and relive these stories that some people might have forgotten about us. I mean, it's hard to believe I was the heavyweight champion in 2013. Then I look back and that was actually 9 years ago. So it's weird that I've been gone that long, and guys like you guys, I appreciate it. It's fun. And the fact that you've been able to pull off getting some of us on this show, I'm impressed by, and that shows as a kudos to you guys. And good job, man. Yeah. It's very impressive.
Thank you. It's hard at first, but once, you know, it's that trickle effect, and they're like, oh, they did good, they did this, and then, you know, they'll reach back out, which I get. You know, a lot of people, it's hard to tell the story.
There's a lot of hearsay with the boys.
Yeah.
And I talked good about you all, and I'm sure that trickulated, and it goes, you know, back and forth. I know Tony told Doug about it. Tony Gunn, by the way, one of my best friends. I was at his wedding. Obviously, we're talking about the old OVW, but still one of my best friends today. I talked to him 2 or 3 times a week. So,
well, thank you for coming on. We'll reach out again shortly, and we'll get back at it.
Thank you so much.
You guys,
have a great one.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, fellas. Y'all take care.
Hey, everybody, it's Morty.
It's Brian.
And thank you for watching today's episode of Developmentally Speaking.
If you could, please click that subscribe button.
And don't forget to punch that bell icon so you can get notified whenever we go live or drop a new video every Monday. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next
Developmentally Speaking.